everyone, and welcome to Travel Tips. Today I'm going to give you travel tips for a great vacay. And we're going to kind of do it a little different today. I'm going to talk about all-inclusive resorts, and I'm going to give you the do's and don'ts for an all-inclusive resort stay. So I know everyone's getting ready to book their vacations for the summer, and I hope this is helpful. I will be referring to my notes because I have so many great things I want to tell you, and I don't want to miss anything. First of all-inclusives are so popular. You'll see them all over the place in the Caribbean and Mexico mostly, but there are other places as well. So number one do set a budget. Make sure you're staying within your budget because you don't want to come back from your vacation and be in a major debt and in a bad way. So always stay within your budget for a healthy, good vacation experience. And don't forget to include tips. Even though most all-inclusive resorts you're not expected to tip, I'm just here to tell you it can make the experience so much better. And it's not a lot of tips you have to do. $1, $2 when you get a drink or get a little extra service. They remember that and it makes the whole experience much better. Do consider value and price point. Now this is an important one. There's several different types of all-inclusive. There's from luxury to budget friendly. And here's the key. The luxury is going to give you better food, better service, maybe a nicer room. But it comes down to how much you value these items. Are those particular needs so strong for you? Then you need to incorporate that in your budget and stay at a luxury all-inclusive. However, maybe it's a time you want to pay more for a romantic retreat, but maybe you're bringing your children and that's not as important. Consider the level of pampering that's required for you compared to the budget that you can afford. Those are strong words. We all want to be pampered, and it's just great when you can find that perfect all-inclusive that gives you value because you get pampered and the price is affordable, but that's not always the case. So do your research and make sure you know first what's important to you, and that's what you're getting. Don't think luxury means a better beach, because that is not the case. And sometimes in the Caribbean, it's not about pampering. For some people, it's about the sun and the beach. So if that's what you're after, just remember that same stretch of beach is sitting on a luxury resort, sitting on that beach, just like maybe a more affordable resort is on that same beach. So if the beach and sun is the most important thing to you, then maybe you don't need to pay for the luxury resort. So just understand what's important to you and what you want to get out of your vacation. Do travel at off-peak times. And that's in the Caribbean and Mexico, June to November are the off-peak times. Do try to travel in that time and it'll be more affordable to you. Also look at certain days of the week can also be more affordable for you. And don't expect any discounted cheaper rates during any holidays. Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, spring break, those are all going to be more expensive. Do read all the reviews. They usually go into detail about room type, but mostly they point out that value that you're looking for in a property. They're going to bring that to light in a review. But also don't believe everything you read. Sometimes some of the complaints I have to almost chuckle. Like I seen one once that they complained about the cracks in the sidewalk. Now if that's not a big deal for you, put everything in perspective, okay? Because that may not have been an issue for a beautiful resort. Do assess the restaurant situation at an all-inclusive. This is very important because they all do it differently. Sometimes if you're only staying 3 nights, you can only eat in a specialty restaurant 1 of your 3 nights. Or 5 nights, maybe they allow 2. Some of the specialty restaurants have an upcharge. And some of them, you have to make reservations the very first day that you check in or you'll never get in them. So assess the restaurant situation and their rules either before you go or the day that you arrive so you're very aware of it. Don't assume that a lower price resort means it's going to have bad food. That's not necessarily true. Some affordable resorts actually have very good food. Do pack a swimsuit and sunscreen in a carry-on. And the reason I say that is many of the resorts, the check-in is 3 p.m. Sometimes it gets pushed even to 4 p.m. And you want to get out there and you want to get some sun. And you definitely want to have your sunscreen if you burn easily while you're doing that. Also, even if you do check in your room, sometimes your luggage isn't delivered even till later. So have that extra in your carry-on. It saved me so many times. And if it's not a swimsuit, even just lighter clothing, because you may have arrived in something that's very warm and you're in a destination now that's pretty hot and you're very uncomfortable, unless you're sitting in the room. And then don't forget to check out the dress codes, particularly in all-inclusives. They have a dress code for dinner. They have certain attire men and women are expected to wear to be able to enter the restaurants. So always check that. Do consider your transportation to and from the airport. Those are called transfers. It's very important, and sometimes it could be very expensive if it's not included in your package or you haven't pre-arranged it. But don't be afraid to up to a private transfer, and this is why. A lot of the transfers that are included in your all-inclusive package is a bus that you have to wait for it to fill of maybe 35 to 40 people, and then you have several stops along the way getting to your resort. This is the day you just arrived and you're real excited to get there, and this kind of delays that. So don't be afraid to get that private transfer that's right there waiting for you with your name and takes you straight to the resort and straight back to the airport when you're done, instead of all the frequent stops. But remember that there is an additional charge for that, but you're going to be surprised because it's not that much more, and it's definitely worth it. Do bring a mug. Now, what do I mean about bring a mug? Well, I have a lot of experience at all-inclusive resorts, and I always tell my groups to bring a big mug, because if they don't have beach service and you have to run up to get your drink, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, whatever you're drinking, by the time you get back to your beach chair or pool chair, it could be completely melted and almost half drank because it's in a little tiny glass. If you bring your own mug, you can fill that up, one of those mugs that keep it cold, and then you go back to your chair and you get to really enjoy your drink. I know it's such a small thing, but everyone I've ever told to do this brings their mug and is always grateful that they did. And don't worry about bringing towels. You don't need towels at all-inclusive resorts. They always have them available for you all around the pool area and the beach area. Do expect a clean room. Now, you may see a gecko or maybe even a small mosquito. You are in the Caribbean or Mexico most likely, and those are expected in those destinations, but make sure it's clean. It doesn't have to not have a little maybe visitor, but it needs to be clean. But don't expect everything to be like home. If you're in the Dominican Republic or in Mexico or some other all-inclusive resort, they may not speak English, and some of the staff may not understand you. They're very willing to help and they want to help. They're very high rated in the hospitality field in most all-inclusives, but they may not understand you because remember, you're a guest in their country and they may not know your language, and they're going to try, and that doesn't mean that they're not being respectful. So I hope those tips help you to have a great all-inclusive experience. I hope every single one of you get to go on an all-inclusive vacation soon. Thank you.